Hello, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Stephen Dunlop. I don't know what I'm doing with this channel, but I kind of wanted to cover the NFL for a season. I thought, it'd be fun or something. So, yeah. So my first video, we're gonna be talking about the Eagles week 2 against the Vikings and have a little preview of this Sunday. I'll go through and like make some picks or whatever. And yeah, so let's get started on the Eagles. I thought I thought it was a good game from them. Um, they had some key injuries, Gainwell, Bradbury, and Blankenship particularly. And Blankenship is like very important for them. Like he's their best safety, obviously, and so is Bradbury and Gainwell. But Bradbury, being their CB2 against Jefferson and Addison, that's a pretty big loss. So to start the game, I thought the offense kind of struggled early. Jalen was making like some bad reads. It felt like Jalen would. It felt like Jalen would make one read, like his primary read, see it's not open, and then just run. That's what it felt like he was doing. And we didn't see that last year. Like last year, he was making good reads, good passes, etc. And it felt like 2021 Jalen, where he would just make a read and then run. That's what like people would say about him, right? And that's what he was doing in the first quarter with the blitzes from Brian Flores of the Vikings. And it just like I don't know. He was struggling, but he got better. There's I think it was the first drive. He had a huge play to Devonta Smith, and um, I don't know, it's like a 50-yard pass, but like it wasn't a good pass. He threw it, and it should have been a touchdown pass, but he underthrew it, and Devonta had to moss the guy. He had to, go over his head and moss him, which is really cool and awesome that Devonta can do that, but it shouldn't have been like that. That Jalen should have threw it further, and it should have been a touchdown, but they got a field goal out of it. Another thing I thought was wrong with the offense was the play calling. Like, especially on third and long, it felt like they threw like a couple screens on third and long and got like 2 yards and had to punt. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, and they weren't running the ball until later. Um, but yeah, I thought the defense really stepped up. I think they had 4 turnovers, and that's kind of why they won. Um, I thought Jordan Davis was just amazing. Like, I knew he was going to be good, but I think he added like a pass rush element to his game. Um, because at Georgia, when he played, he's more of a run stopper, and his rookie year, he was a run stopper. And you could tell, like, the Eagles, their run defense last year was not that good, especially when Davis was hurt. Um, yeah. Sorry, this is my first video. I don't really know what I'm doing. Um, but uh, yeah, he had a couple good pass rushes. He had a sack. Last week he had a fumble recovery. And him and Jalen Carter they're gonna be dominant. Like for the next couple of years, they are going to be insane. No one's gonna want to run on the Eagles. You know, because of Jordan Davis, they only got like 20 rushing yards, the Vikings. and yeah, they are just going to be amazing. And Josh Sweat looked really good. He he forced the fumble on Kirk Cousins in the second half. That Cox recovered, and they got a touchdown out of it. And that was kind of like the point where it's like, okay, they're gonna win this game. So Josh Sweat was just amazing. Him and Reddick. If Reddick can get going, like they're gonna have the best defensive line in the league by far. It kind of felt like Reddick struggled a little bit, like he did last week, but he had thumb surgery during training camp, and well, last season he took a while to get going. So I don't know. And last season he could have been a defensive player of the year candidate. He was very good. He was why they beat the Niners in the NFC Championship game. So yeah, just once he gets going, they're going to be amazing. And if you go back, so for Jefferson, the best, you could say he's the best receiver in the NFL. Probably, I think that's a fair assessment. Um, so last season, when the Vikings and Eagles played each other, um, Slay, Darius Slay just like shut down Jefferson, and it was just amazing, like a beautiful performance. And this time, Jefferson definitely won the battle. And it's not a knock on Slay. Like you're not going to stop Jefferson 2 games in a row. You're just not. So I thought Slay did very good guarding him. Uh, it seemed like there were a couple plays where he probably could have had a pick or two, but Jefferson's just so good. And he's also like awesome to watch. I love watching him. Uh, but yeah, and then I thought Edmonds stepped up in Blankenship's spot, and Sidney Brown also did pretty good. And I was like really worried. That was like I thought if we were going to lose the game, it would be because Blankenship wasn't playing. And so Edmonds and Sidney Brown were did very good. They let up a couple plays, but overall they did pretty good. Um, I think Sean Desai is showing that he's a very good defensive coordinator. I didn't like Gannon last year and the year before. I it, he was being carried by the talent they had on the defense, and he wasn't. He was way too passive and lost him many games. And Gannon could never beat like an elite quarterback. So we'll see if Desai can, because this schedule is loaded. So they're definitely going to play some elite quarterbacks. Um, but yeah, like I thought it was like the second. Like there were some players out there on the second team defense and the third team defense out there playing very well, and that was very encouraging, I think. Um, I have here on my notes, I wrote Jake Elliott, the kicker. He he made a 61 yarder, which is just insane. And I think he's like so solid. Like people say Justin Tucker is the best kicker in the league, and that's fair, totally. But Jake Elliott is like almost that good, if not that good. Like last week against New England, um, Jake Elliott won them that game because they just couldn't find the end zone, but Jake Elliott won them that game. So I think that's great that they have a kicker who's just that consistent and good. Uh, there's a point in the game where AJ Brown kind of got into it with Jalen. It was kind of weird because like AJ does this thing where if he's not having a good game, like he's just pissed, and I mean that's a good thing. I do think that's a good thing, but when you're winning and you're on the sideline throwing a fit, it's not a good look. But I don't know. It's all right. I mean, he's a competitor and he wants the ball. And I thought one thing, the Vikings, they played a lot of zone coverage, and Devonta is so good. running routes through a zone, whereas AJ is more better against man defense. And there were two plays where back to back where Jalen threw a beautiful pass to AJ in the end zone, but it got called back because of holding. But it was a pretty weak call. And then the next, there probably should have been a pass interference call that Jalen threw to AJ that could have been a touchdown. So AJ, he only had four receptions for 29 yards, but I'm not really worried about it. He's a very good player. He'll be all right. Um, I thought Jalen. So I mentioned Jalen kind of struggled in the first half. He looked a lot better in the second half, but that was after they established the run. Um, um, at some point, Brian Johnson, the offensive coordinator, he just started running it with Swift, and that really opened up the game and the offense. Because before they started running, I believe the Vikings were playing like cover four or the cover four and then like a zone blitz occasionally. And Jalen was just struggling. He had that interception. So since they had everyone out in the backfield, they started running it and they had a lot of success. And that really just opened the game for them. And Swift is gonna be awesome. I don't know if any of y'all play fantasy, but Swift with this Eagles O line is absurd. Like the fact that they were able to trade for him is just great. I love it. And like I loved Miles Sanders while he was here, but he's a good guy and he played hard, but he wouldn't he wouldn't hit the holes made by the offensive line. Like I mean, he would sometimes hit them, but he'd sometimes just go around and get tackled for a loss, and it was just so frustrating. He fumbled in the Super Bowl. He was just I don't know. Um, but yeah, it seems like Swift hits the holes very like on the right time and very hard. He broke off like a couple of huge runs. Like he was just amazing. I don't know why Gainwell is labeled their running back like RB1. It should be Swift. And like last week, he only got two touches. So it's like, what are we doing? So I don't know. I have some problems, some issues with the offensive coordinator, but he might figure it out. I hope so. And yeah, so once they got the run established, it really opened up a pass and the passing game. And uh, Jalen hit Devonta with the big pass touchdown. And yeah, I thought back to the defense. I thought like with the linebackers and safeties out, I thought Hawkinson and Jefferson would like just eat in the middle of the field, but they didn't. Cunningham, Edmonds, Sidney Brown, Maddox. Maddox got injured sadly, but I think he'll be okay. He always gets injured. And the fact that the defensive line could just eat them. I mean, I know Vikings offensive line, they had some injuries, so this probably isn't going to be the norm. I'd like to see what the defensive line looks like against a good team. I mean, a good offensive line, I mean. But yeah. So that's kind of my thoughts on the Eagles game, you know. 1 week at a time. Everyone thinks that like there's some just indestructible team because of last year and that they should be putting up 50 points a game and shutting everyone down. And I get why you want to feel that, and it's frustrating that they're not because after the run last year. But every year in the NFL is different. Like So this is a totally separate team, especially with two different coordinators. But 2-0. Buccaneers next week, Monday night. So they get a good, like, I think 10 days rest. So Blankenship should be back. I know Nakobe Dean probably won't be. He's on IR. He keeps getting injured. I really want to see him though. He's gonna be good if he can just stay healthy. Um, but yeah. So for the second part of this video, I thought I would go through and pick all the spreads for week two because I know sports media now, there's a lot of focus on the gambling side of it. So I figured, I'll just throw in like picks for a week for every game as part of my YouTube channel. Some just content, something to talk about and make a video on. So the website I'm using is MyBookie, so it'll be the spreads from there. Um, and yeah, and so I think I'll just do the picks here. And if I have time and can do all the research, I might make another video previewing week two. That'll maybe come out Saturday. I'll see if I have time. I don't know if I do. But yeah, so we'll start with Baltimore Ravens and versus at Cincinnati Bengals. I think the Bengals minus 3.5. I would take. I think they're gonna bounce back. You know, um, they're at home. And I think last week, Joe Burrow wasn't right, and that Cleveland always plays them well, and their defensive line is very good. But I think Cincinnati will bounce back. Next, we have Kansas City Chiefs at Jacksonville Jaguars. This one's tough because I don't know if Kelsey is playing, but as of right now, he's still questionable. And I really liked what I saw from Calvin Ridley. I think him and Trevor Lawrence are just going to be very good over the next couple of years, and he's going to take Trevor Lawrence to that next level. Um, I am worried about the offensive line for the Jags. They've had some injuries, and Chris Jones on the Chiefs just got paid, so he might just eat them alive. Uh, I don't know. I think I'll take the Jags plus the 3.5, though. They're at home. Up next, we got Seattle versus Detroit. Everyone's very high on Detroit, and I understand why. But if Kansas City just caught a couple passes, they probably won that game. And Seattle, I don't know, Seattle's hard to read. But before the season started, I thought they were going to be pretty good, but they did not look good against the Rams. I don't know what happened. I think they just laid an egg. But I think I'll take Seattle plus 4.5. I don't know. I think they're going to be good. I think. Next, we have Indiana versus Houston. This one's going to be interesting. Stroud versus Richardson. It's at Houston. Um, Houston's defense is going to be all right this year, especially with D'Amico Ryans. But I liked what I saw from Richardson. I think they have better receivers than Houston. I like Steichen. Oh crap! I didn't mention one thing I liked about. I'm so sorry. I'll just take 1 second. One thing I liked about Steichen on the Eagles was he was able to get Jalen like calm down when he was flustered. He was able to like call plays that would help him out, and I don't know if Brian Johnson can do that. But anyways, we'll go back to the spreads. Um, I think I'll take the Colts plus one. It's going to be close. Both rookie quarterbacks, both rookie coaches. If you're taking any of these games, I can't recommend taking this one. Next is Chicago versus Tampa. I don't know what's going on with Chicago. I don't know. I kind of thought Fields was going to be good, but I don't know anymore. I know his team is bad. There's nothing around him, and the coaching staff does not help. I don't know if y'all saw that video. I think the YouTube channel is called like the QB School. something like that. But anyway, it's like an hour-long video breaking down this game, Bears versus Packers last week. And I mean, Fields was making bad reads, but it was like systematically Chicago just they're bad, like offensively. So I think I'll take Tampa Bay minus 2.5. They're at home with Baker, Mike Evans. I don't like Baker, but Mike Evans is good. I don't know. That's a crap game. Next is Las Vegas versus Buffalo. I genuinely have no idea. Vegas, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you got Josh Allen playing like Carson Wentz, but then Vegas, they don't really have that good of a defense. I mean, you got Crosby, but other than else, 8.5 is a lot, but it's at Buffalo, and I think they're gonna want to like exercise their demons. I think I'll take Buffalo minus 8.5, but Josh Allen might burn me. Next we got Chargers versus Titans. I feel like Brandon Staley of the Chargers is just a dumbass, and Mike Vrabel is just gonna outcoach him so much. But then you go to Tannehill, who's garbage, versus Justin Herbert. But I don't know. I think I'll just spite Brandon Staley because I think he's an idiot. So I'll just take Titans plus the 3. Next, you have Green Bay versus Atlanta. I love Atlanta here. If I had to take any game, I'd probably take Atlanta minus the 1.5. They're at home. I don't think the Packers defense is that good. Last year, they were just run all over by teams. And the Falcons, you got Bijan Robinson, who's going to be very good. And I think Artie Smith's a good coach. I would take Atlanta here. They looked great last week. Again, these are both like these two teams likely won't make much noise in the postseason. I think Atlanta might win their division, but I don't know. I really do like Atlanta here. But if you had to take like a mid team, I think Atlanta would. I mean that in a good way. Like if you took two mid teams and placed them against each other, I think Atlanta would come out. Next, this one's tough. The Niners and the Rams. I know some places were like 8.5. My bookie has it at 7. I think I would take the Niners minus the 7. Niners look like the best team in the NFL. It's only 2 weeks in, but as an Eagles fan, I am terrified of the Niners as of right now. They just look insanely good. Um, the Rams, they looked good last week, but it's going to be a real test against the Niners. If you find it at 8 or 8.5, I would take the Rams, but I don't know, 7. I I, I'll take Rams plus the 7, but I don't like it. I don't know. The Rams played tough last week. They played pretty well. Matthew Stafford's all right. Aaron Donald still got it. 7's a lot, and it's a divisional game, and it's at the Rams. So I'll take plus 7 if you can find it. Plus 8, plus 8.5. I know some places do. That's probably better. Next, you got New York Giants versus Arizona Cardinals. I know the Giants were trash last week. It is insane how bad they were. Um, but I'd take the Giants minus 4, looking for a bounce back spot. And Jonathan Gannon is a dumbass. Um, so, and I don't know. I think the Cardinals defense will be okay, but I would take Giants minus the 4. Next, you got Washington versus Denver. This is what we call a poop bowl because it's just crap. I can't tell you to place hard-earned money on either team here because I I'm trying to think of something to say about this game. If I had to pick, I think I'd take them. Ugh, I I don't know. Give me. I have no idea what to do with this game. I guess Washington plus the 3.5, but I'm only picking it for the YouTube channel. Do not pick this game. This game is bad. Next, we got New York Jets versus Dallas Cowboys. I like the Jets plus 9. You could probably find it plus 10 at some other places. Their defense is just insanely good. They got good receivers. They got good running back. It's just a question of Zach Wilson, which, I mean, yeah, but I feel like the defense could keep it within 9. And Dak will throw a pick here or there. It just feels like a game that Dak would melt down in. I'm not saying the Jets would win it, but I don't trust Dak against that defense, and 9 is a lot, so I would take the Jets. Next, you got New England or Miami at New England in Sunday Night Football. Um, I know a lot of pros are taking New England here, but I'm not just saying this because I've heard it from other people. But I think I'm taking New England plus the 3. Uh, their defense is going to be pretty good this year. I watched that game like 2 or 3 times against the Eagles, and Bill Belichick is just diabolical with his schemes. He's gonna no one on earth can stop Tyreek Hill, but if you have to come up with some type of a scheme to slow him down somewhat, I think Bill could do it. And I don't know about Miami's defense. I think Mac is a good enough quarterback to, you know, I don't want to say system quarterback, but like he's good enough to make the right reads, I think, is what I'm saying. And it's at New England, so I'll go with plus 3 for New England. And then we got 2 games on Monday Night Football. I guess I'll just pick them here. You got the Saints versus the Panthers. I'll take the Saints minus 3. I Rookie quarterback, and Frank Reich is a dumbass. So yeah, I'll take the Saints minus 3. And then you got Cleveland versus Pittsburgh. This should be a good game. Pittsburgh looked horrible last week. Cleveland looked very good, but I don't know. I'm not ready to like give up on Kenny Pickett and George Pickens. George Pickens is a dog. He's he's gonna be so good. For some reason they didn't connect last game. I guess the Niners kind of took it away, but there were some plays where he was open, and then there was like the video where some people think Kenny Pickett had a concussion and then get taken out, and he was just making the wrong reach because he was concussed. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh here, plus the 2.5. It's at Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin's good coach, and I think they'll bounce back. And I don't really trust Deshaun Watson yet. I don't know. Um, but yeah, that'll be it for this video. This is my first video. Um, thank you for watching. I don't know if you stuck to the end, but if you did, I really appreciate it. If you could like, subscribe, and comment. If you comment, I'll respond. I love talking football with anyone. Um, and yeah, so I'll try and make a video on Saturday previewing every game. I kind of just did, but more detail, I guess. If not, I'll do a Sunday night recap. And yeah, so thank you for watching.